Bloxers, my name is Bloxer, and today we are actually gonna do a tutorial video. Wow, tutorial video on my channel? What? You know, play Super Sim. Okay, so basically, why am I doing a tutorial? Why am I doing GFX tutorial? I've seen so many videos of like GFX tutorials or GFX, whatever, however you pronounce it, and most people are still struggling on how to do GFX, however you pronounce it, because most of the videos I've seen, they don't really explain in depth how to use Blender, how to do steps correctly. They just like skip certain steps that some people can't like do these steps because they missed out the steps. And I'm gonna try and go in depth with like full explanation. I'm not really good at GFX, but this should be like a start point of like how to do them. First of all, you need to download Blender, of course, and you need Roblox Studio, of course. Blender 2.0, 2.8, do not download it. The reason why you shouldn't download it is because it's apparently really difficult to use, and you can just download 2.79, which is so much easier to use compared to 2.8. So how do you do that? So do not click this button, go to download, and you go to you press looking for Blender 2.79. so then you click this available for download, and it should display this. So you scroll down and you look for 2.79. then it gives you multiple options. Depends what operating system you use. So if you use Linux, then you have to choose. Okay, so before you even do any, just go to control panel. This is for Windows. I'm not sure how you actually do it for Mac or Linux, but go to control panel. You go to system security, and then you go to system. You see view amount of RAM and processor speed. And in system type, it should tell you what system you have. Either it is 64-bit or 32-bit. So if you have 32, you have to choose one of these, or 64, you have to choose one of these. And I recommend again the zip file. It should be easy to extract the program from the zip file. So another thing you need to download is this mega link, which is from somebody's video, but their video didn't really explain really well. So it gives you, the most important bit is the paintrig.version 3.blend, and this is really useful. So you're able to bend the limbs or the arms and the legs and the whole body of the avatar, which is really useful and so easy. This is just brute sunrise. It's just the background and the lighting, and the tree and the grass is just some models. Like the most important bit is the paint rig version 3. And if you want different type of lightings and crowns, you go to there's a website called HDRI for Haven. If you scroll down, press on browse 200 plus HDRIs, you have a lot of options. They're all outdoor skies. Let's go to like studio, for example, and you have multiple like lightings, backgrounds, like as a studio lighting if you want that. For example, if I wanted I don't know, studio small 7, click on that, and then it gives you like files you should download. And I really recommend 16K for like a better resolution. I think it's a resolution, I'm pretty sure, but I recommend clicking on 16K. Even though it's a big file size, it would be better to get like a better resolution. So you download the mega. You could use this sunrise one, or you could just download any other lighting HDRIs from this website, and you have to have Blender. And that's the start of it. Now you go to Roblox Studio for the avatar, and just go to new, press base play, and you need a specific plugin. So you have to go to plugins, you have to go to manage plugins, press find plugins, and this should show up. Load character, the second most popular load character, made by Already Pro. So you click on that, and then it should be an install button, and then it should show up instantly in the plugins. So then you click on load character and type any username that you want to load in. So example, let's do me. You could do at spawn origin, doesn't really matter. And let's do R6. So where is it? There he is. Now, what do you want to do? You click on later bloxer, or whatever character you have. So you right click on later bloxer, or whoever it is. Press export selection, and I'm just gonna save it in desktop. And name it whatever you want. I'm just gonna name it later bloxer. And it should be object model. Press save, and now you have saved the model of your avatar, so you don't need Roblox Studio anymore, so you just press no. And now you go into Blender. Alright, so you're in Blender and you have to know the basics of movements. So how to move around like this, you have to have a mouse with left click, right click and a scroll wheel, a 3-button mouse. If you hold down the scroll button, you can move around around the object that you're looking at. You can scroll up and down to zoom in like this, and that scroll wheel. You can move along the whatever axis you're on, and that's really the basic movement that you really need to know. So of course you want to delete this cube, so you select it by pressing right click. You don't do left click, you have to select things with right click. You press X and this shows up, and you just press delete. So you find the location you downloaded the mega file. It should be called resources, and I think it's a zip file, so you have to extract that, and then you go to wherever you saved it. So you find resources, and then you open up Paint Rake version 3. This should be shown, this pink avatar. So what you do is, if you want to import the avatar, of course, then you click this and you press the avatar texture that you have saved, so whatever name you named it. So mine was later bloxer. You click on this for the texture, and now it displays the texture of your avatar. But you may be like, where are the hats at? Alright, so what you want to do now is you go to file to get the avatar with hats. So you go to file, you go to import, you then press away front object, and you go to the so I saved my avatar in desktop, and you just select the object, and this should show up. So then you move this avatar. So you got 2 avatars. So the reason why you have 2 is because this one is the avatar that you're gonna move the limbs, move the whole body, and it will like bend. So example, if I select this arm, so if I go to pose mode over here, and if I select the arm, see, it moves around, it bends. And I select the body, see, it like bends, and it bends the legs when it touches the ground. And this one you just need the hats, you don't need this. So what you have to do is, so you right click and you hold shift and select every part, and then so you select every part, press X and just delete that, and then you can just deselect the head as well. So you just got the hats. So what you have to do now is you have to group it. So now to group it, you have to select all hats, select every object, or you hold shift and press right click, and then you press Ctrl J. Now the whole thing is grouped. So now you can move it, and then just align it back with the avatar. Now what you need to do is you have to zoom in and find this box. So you select the box, so then you press Ctrl P and press object. So what that did was connect the hats with the rig. So now as you can see, if I go object mode, then it moves with the rig. So now you can just go to pose mode and you can do any pose you want. So you right click on any part you want. So let's do the body, and I don't know, let's make later bloxer look up for, actually let's make later bloxer Naruto run. So now I got the pose that I want. Just go back to object mode. Now you just got the avatar itself. See, there's no light or anything. So what do? So what you want to do is, now you have this thing up here. So you press the global, the world. Now you have to press Shift A, go to texture, environment texture. Then you Control A, or Shift A I mean. You Shift A, input, texture coordinate. Now you go to environment texture, press open, and you open up any texture you want. So you have the sunrise in the resource folder, but I'm going to be using the one that I downloaded, Star Night, which is one of them. So now, bruh, really Blender, you have to do that now? Bruh Blender, just bruh, biggest bruh moment of all the bruh moments, bruh. There we go, boom. Alright, loaded, great. So back into the video, Shift A. So you have to press Shift A, go to vector and mapping. So press that over here. Just move it around. Just like this. Oh. Please don't say it just... Blender froze again. What is wrong with Blender today? Why? What's wrong? Why is Blender doing this to me? No. There you go. So you move these. Are you actually kidding me? So move these. Press Shift A. You go to vector, then mapping. You connect generated to vector, and this vector to vector, and this color to color. So now if you go to rendered, as you can see, there's lighting on my avatar, and this is perfect lighting because I could do this for like Area 51 background. But this is pretty neat. See, lighting, it just looks beautiful. So let's go back to material. So most of you don't even want the background, so all you have to do is press this camera, you scroll down, film, and you press transparent. So now if you go to rendered, the background should have been there. There you go. If you want to rotate the avatar because the lighting doesn't really look good, you go to object mode if you already are, and left click and just spin them around, just whatever rotation position you want, depending on which lighting you want. Pretty much done with everything you want. You can have some optional things where from the resources you have trees, you have grass, but I'm not going to do that. But if you want to, all you have to do is go to the folder, go for resource folder, so let's do grass for example. But then you open up grass blend. I'm not going to demonstrate it, but you basically right click on the grass, then you press Ctrl C, you go to the blender where your avatar is, and you press Ctrl V, and you can add any object you want. You can go to Roblox Studio, add some mesh. I don't know, maybe some building. You select the whole building, that mesh, whatever it is, export it into an object, and you'll be able to import it into Blender. So if you press, if you go to view, actually no, bottom view, and then camera, which for some reason the camera is not here. So if the camera is not here, you just press add, and you go to camera. There's the camera. And then you just position it where you want the camera to be. Doing an angle, that'd be pretty cool. If you press numpad 0, or if you go to view and press camera, then this shows up. And if it's out of the frame, then all you need to do to get out of camera, you just press camera again, or press numpad, and then you just move it further away. So you may not want a rectangle image, maybe you probably just want a square like for game icons. So how do you do that? You go to the camera and you have the resolution options. So you could do so originally it's 1080p, so you could do like 4K if you want, any resolution you want, but it's just going to take more time to render. So let's do like a 2000 by 2000, and you should change the camera, and this is how it looks like. Alright, so that's perfect. You could import more rigs to the Blender, but it could be a different tutorial, but we're just gonna work on one rig. You could have like more like avatars in the background, like the rigs, like maybe Jason later blocks for some reason, and maybe let's add ground because later blocks is kind of floating there, you know. So let's add a mesh cube. You press this one, then just resize it like this. Zoom out a bit. But if there are stuff behind this camera, you don't want to render this whole bit, so you can just move this over here like this, because you're not rendering this part, and you don't want most of it, so you don't want this area, because the camera doesn't see that, and it's unnecessary to render these bits. So you press this one, press new, and now I can just change the color of the object, so we can make it like a sandy color. Sorry if I'm a little bit off, no scripts, just like going with the flow, and I guess it doesn't look bad. So now the rendering bit. Before you go to render and render image, you need to follow these steps to save time of rendering and just make rendering easier and better. So first of all, you go to camera here and you choose which you want, CPU, GPU, recommended GPU. Unless your GPU is really bad, you select CPU. But most recommended is GPU, and if you don't have an option to choose GPU, just stay with CPU. Make sure it's GPU if you can't just keep it as CPU. Before you even continue, you must change cycles render. You must be a cycles render, not blender render, it's cycles render. So you go to tiles, go performance, and then you have to choose tiles. And tiles are squares and tiles during rendering, which renders each tile square. It doesn't render the whole thing. It just renders each like tile a square on each. So there's like squares, and then renders each bit on that square. And according to Blender Guru, which is a great guy for tutorials and stuff about Blender, the best for GPU is 512 times by 512, which is the quickest for GPU, and the quickest for CPU is 16 by 16. So if you're doing GPU, you change this number to 512, 512. If you're doing CPU, you change the number to 16 by 16 over here. It's really important because it will change the rendering speed. It will go so much faster. If you go to light paths, you have light bounces. Light bounces also affects the rendering speed. So there are so many light bounces, and in this basic GFX, just avatar and the floor, it doesn't really need many light bounces. So you could just decrease that to 3. And you can play around with it. You go to rendered and just play around with the bounces. You don't need a lot of bounces. You just need like 2 or 3. So if you go here, I have on minimum 3, max 3, and there's not much, you know. Let's change that to 5. There's just small difference. Look, there's light bounce here, light bounce here. The many, the better. But you don't need a lot of light bounces. It's unnecessary. So I'm just gonna keep it 5, and it's just gonna decrease the rendering time. I mean, it's gonna take longer to render if you have more light bounces. So decrease it as much as you can. That's all you really need to know. So now what you have to do is go to render and press render image. And now rendering takes a long time, depending on how good your GPU is or how good your CPU is. So if you have a really bad CPU, GPU, then it's going to take a long while to render.